right.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the $1 Million Peddlers. I'm Paper Guy.
And I'm Mr. Magazine.
Mr. Magazine, it's almost like you read my mind. We're going to be talking today about some articles you regularly see over on e-commerce bites.
Okay.
There are ideas about people who want to get rid of feedback and whether feedback is still pertinent or not, whether it's helpful. And why don't you tell me your opinion to start with?
Well, first, if you're going to compare feedbacks, which you didn't ask or say, but I think eBay's feedback is way more fair than Amazon. The Amazon customers only give negatives; they really don't give the positives, so it doesn't. It distorts your true rating. As far as eBay goes, I think they're fair. Sometimes customers are out of line giving the feedback, and I think eBay's been better with removing it for the sellers lately. They've been doing a good job for me. That actually helps out. I think feedback's important. And they've had it forever. So it's been working out so far for 20-something years. We'll keep it going longer.
I happen to, obviously, much like you, we obviously have a horse in the race, as they say, because we do have a lot of feedback. Mm-hmm. So it would be foolish for us to say, no, feedback is meaningless.
True.
That being said, I use feedback regularly when I purchase items. I want generally to make sure that I get the item. Now, let me ask you this. Which is more important, or does it depend? The number of feedback or the feedback percentage? Or how do you read those?
I guess it depends on who you are. Obviously, the number is important, or more important to me, because my number's pretty big, where my feedback, even though I get a few here and there, you get these newbies that think, oh my God, you've got 4 negatives, that's horrible, but I also have 1,000 positives that month. So for me, the number would make me look like a better or bigger seller than my feedback, because I do get, when you're selling 50, 100 items a day or whatever, you're going to get some negatives. Even, some may be our fault, some may be the customers are just too fussy. But, that does happen. But for the most part, they're both important, and it depends on who you are, I guess, looking from what point of view.
I mean, I guess, obviously, if I see somebody with one positive and they have 66%, that's probably not a good sign.
Not a good start.
Yeah. No, exactly. The other side of it is if I see somebody with 300,000 positives and they're sitting at 96.8, that's probably not a good sign. However, that also could tell you, depending upon what they're selling, I'll give you a perfect example. If they're selling books, you're not going to get a mint condition first edition book from them.
Right.
You go to them because there's a book out there that you want to read. And you're not trying to collect it. All you literally are doing is reading. And I'll give you the perfect example. Years ago, Random Neighborhood Kid needed a book for school. I bought from one of those guys because I didn't care. I needed a copy of the book, period, end of story. I didn't care. We weren't going to do anything with it afterwards anyway.
Right.
So for that, for my needs, I didn't care that he had 98% positive. It didn't make any difference at all as long as I got the book that I ordered.
Sure.
Somebody else, meanwhile, may this is a collectible book. I want it, and get it as it has underlines in it or highlights or something like that. Well, you got to know what they're selling, and that helps as well.
Sure.
Now, when I buy things like supplies, because I need those, I definitely look at the number of feedback because that's pretty important to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to buy something from somebody that's got 5 feedback.
Right.
Because I need this packing supplies. I need these envelopes to come in. I can't sit there and screw around with it. Now, if it's something other that I don't care too much one way or the other, I need this card for my set. Well, if it never ends up coming in, I'll find it somewhere else. It's not the end of the world.
Right.
Then I'm more willing to give somebody with low feedback a chance.
Yeah.
But I can't screw around with my business. I can't sit there and run out of envelopes because I wanted to give somebody with 5 feedback a chance.
Sure.
And you especially get a little bit wary when you sit there and you look and you sort by price and you see more or less the same exact listing at the same exact price by 12 different people, all with 0 to 10 feedback, all coming from Vietnam or all coming from China. And you're saying these are all linked accounts. These are all the same person.
Right.
Am I actually going to get it?
Yeah.
And again, it isn't that I'm worried about whether I'm going to get it or not as far as my money. I know that I'm protected by eBay, and that's a very, very positive thing they did. Mm-hmm. It's that I need the item.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I can't
Especially
screw around.
If it's supplies for the Christmas season. You need it coming. You need no delays. No, we're out of stock. You need them supplying it when you need it.
Now, I will admit I did make a mistake recently. I bought some record boxes on eBay, and it was a reasonable price, and the person had 98.1% feedback. And I don't know, 500 feedback, 600 feedback, something like that.
Doesn't sound too bad.
I said, all right. They didn't send it out until I emailed them and said, this was supposed to be here today, and it hasn't been sent yet. Then they went and they sent it out that day. Oh, we're sorry. Oh, yeah. Then 2 days later, it shows delivered, but it shows delivered to a different zip code.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm saying, why did I trust somebody with 98.1%? Why did I do that?
For supplies, it doesn't seem that bad, but you never know. Look at.
Yeah, and that was a nightmare. And now I'm saying I should have paid a couple of extra dollars and gone with somebody who has 99.5% or something rather like that with 800 feedback, something rather like that. And that's why it's kind of important as well when you find somebody out there, especially with supplies that you trust, that you stick with them, even if you're paying a couple of extra dollars.
Sure.
That being said, there was a larger supplier that we used regularly, and then all of a sudden something happened. It was during the pandemic where I don't know if he didn't have help in the warehouse. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he didn't have his supply, but all of a sudden he picked up like 12 negatives in a week type deal. Now, it was during the pandemic, so I didn't take it overly seriously because I've been dealing with him for years and years and years.
Sure.
But sometimes somebody will go south as well. So you do have to at least stay on top of things. Just because I've had 50 good experiences with you doesn't mean that you don't all of a sudden get a new warehouse manager who doesn't know what he's doing.
Sure.
Or you don't suddenly get cut off from your main supplier and now you're scrambling around finding a different supplier. And maybe in order to keep the prices the same, you always sold me really good record boxes. Now you're selling me cheap record boxes.
Yeah, it's happened. Yeah.
Yep, things like that do happen as well. So overall, though, you are a fan of the feedback?
I am a fan. Yep.
Now, do you leave feedback?
Do we still have it automated?
No. Okay, I meant when you bought. I'm sorry. Yes, we do have it automated when we sell. We both
I
have
do
it
not
automated.
unless they ask, and then I get my sucker buddy to give the feedback.
And as much as I enjoy feedback, I generally don't leave it either. The only time I would leave it would be from requested, but it's from somebody that I've worked with. Occasionally, I will have somebody reach out to me to want to sell me like a collection of stuff, and I'll walk them through how to do it. They sell it to me on eBay, and then I leave them a feedback on it as well, just to help them out as well, because they reached out to me and we worked together on it. And they sent what they were going to send, and they got 14 positives. Yeah, they could use a 15th. It means something to them.
Sure.
Whereas for you or me or a lot of other people, when you're up there, I mean, if some of those people that get over 1 million feedback, they probably don't notice if they get a feedback or they don't get a feedback from anybody.
Parrot Hat still working?
I believe they are.
Well, I remember I don't know how many years ago they had 200,000, and I'm still not even there.
So do comment down below your feelings on the feedback, if you use it, if you feel it's valuable, or if you feel that it's run its course. One last thing I wanted to ask you. Now, the biggest complaint I read on there from sellers, and I want your opinion on it, is the feedback system is broken. It all fell apart when sellers could no longer leave negative feedbacks for buyers. Thoughts?
I do disagree with it. I think sellers should be able to. If you're a deadbeat buyer, or if you're scamming or something, hey, they need to, other sellers need to be aware of this person. I've had things returned that were wrong that they scammed me out of. People that don't pay, and this should be noted as well. Should work both ways.
And I disagree with you.
Okay.
And the reason why I disagree with you is because there were a lot of sellers out there who more or less held the feedback hostage. I will give you positive after you give me positive. If you give me negative, I will give you negative.
Right.
And that then keeps buyers from being honest about a seller.
Gotcha.
Because all of a sudden they're like, well, I got ripped off by this guy, but I don't want a negative, so I'm not going to mention it.
Right.
And so a lot of sellers bullied buyers like that. Now, something you said there actually does raise a point. If there were some way, some additional part of feedback where it would show the number of times that you haven't paid, number of returns you had.
Because you do get a little note saying repeat buyer. So why can't they do that with repeat,
Right, and let's say I have 5. Or we on our live show, I gave examples of 2 returns. I have 2 returns. I'm not a problem buyer. When I buy coffee, I don't want to get an energy drink.
True.
When I buy a specific brand of coffee, I don't want to get a different brand of coffee.
Oh, when I buy energy drinks, I don't want to get coffee. Let's be honest.
So I'm not a problem buyer by any means whatsoever. I would like to get what I buy. So within the grand context of things, yeah, I do have 2 returns. But if it also showed, I don't know, I have zero idea how many items I've bought in eBay throughout the years, 5,000, 3,000, I don't know, some crazy, insane number of items. I bought 5,000 items on eBay and I've returned 2. I'm not a problem.
Yeah.
I bought 3 items on eBay, I've returned 2. Maybe I don't want to sell to this person.
Right. True, yeah.
And same thing, I've paid for everything I've ever bought. But if I see somebody else and it's like, wait, in the last year, they haven't paid for 18 items and they've won 20. I don't think I'm going to waste my time accepting this person's offer because the odds are they're not. And the other 2 they returned.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to deal with this person. So eBay would probably be able to do something or other like that, whether they want to or not, whether they want to alienate buyers. But then again, the flip side of that is, are those buyers we really need on the site?
True, yeah.
So do comment down below your thoughts on feedback. Has it jumped the shark, as they say, or do you still find it valuable? Interested in hearing what you say, and we will see you next video.
Take care. Bye-bye.